Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day to you. That's depending where you are in the world. We're doing the nighttime devotion from the devotional Maranatha. The title today, Parallel Disappointments. James 5, verse 11 reads, Behold, we count them happy which endure. Ye have heard of the patience of Job, and have seen the end of the Lord, that the Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercy. Not infrequently, the minds of the people and even of God's servants are so blinded by human opinions, the traditions and false teaching of men, that they're able only partially to grasp the great things which He has revealed in His Word. Thus it was with the disciples of Christ, even when the Saviour was with them in person. Their minds had become imbued with the popular conception of the Messiah as a temporal prince who was to exalt Israel to the throne of the universal empire, and they could not understand the meaning of his words, foretelling his sufferings and death. From their very birth, their hearts had been set upon the anticipated glory of an earthly empire, and this blinded their understanding. The experience of the disciples who preached the gospel of the kingdom at the first advent of Christ had its counterpart in the experience of those who proclaim the message of his second advent. Like the first disciples, William Miller and his associates did not themselves fully comprehend the import of the message which they bore. Errors that had been long established in the church prevented them from arriving at a correct interpretation of an important point in the prophecy. Therefore, though they proclaimed the message which God had committed to them to be given to the world, yet through a misapprehension of its meaning, they suffered disappointment. With these believers, as with the first disciples, that which in the hour of trial seemed dark to their understanding would afterward be made plain. When they should see the end of the Lord, they would know that, notwithstanding the trial resulting from their errors, his purposes of love toward them had been steadily fulfilling. They would learn by a blessed experience that he is very pitiful and of tender mercy, that all his paths are mercy and truth unto such as keep his covenant and his testimonies. Parallel disappointment. So this is looking primarily at the first disappointment from the disciples and most of Israel, where they were expecting, or the Christians, I should say, they were expecting Jesus to take the throne of David, so to speak, and become the king all over Israel and take over. But that wasn't to be, at least not in that respect. And then it goes to the second disappointment, which is focusing on, I do believe it was the year 1843, where prophecy, the whole prophecy of the 2300 days, I think it was, comes to the end in that year. And where William Miller, who led that, did prophesy that Jesus would come that year. More specifically, I think they had said October 22nd, 1843, but it didn't happen. But what did happen was the fact that Jesus, in the year 1843, That was when he started to judge all of humanity. And in starting to judge, he started with Adam and Eve, and then progressively started judging every single human being from them down the line. So that's, and I still can't remember the name of that. This where he started to judge them. And so you and I, we are in our probation. This life here on earth is probation. Probation for what? Probation to get into heaven. As and when you die and go to the grave, that's your end of your probation, because you're not living anymore. While you have breath in you and while you're alive, you have the opportunity to make things and do things better to get yourself into heaven. But it's not righteousness by works. It's about having the faith in Jesus, the testimony, knowing who and what he was, why he was, and also keeping the 10 Commandments. Yeah, there's a lot. But if you keep life very simple, it's not really a lot. It depends how complicated you like to live your life, what your lifestyle is like, what your goals are in your life. This is where humility comes in, meekness, lowliness, tender hearted, loving your neighbor as yourself. In fact, loving your neighbor more than yourself, perhaps. Have a wonderful next day tomorrow, I guess. Good night.